All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Victory Condition Gaming. My name is Doug. Today on the show, I'm so excited. I've got a co-chair with me. I've got a co-host. I've got Mattias from Järningen to talk about his Kickstarter that's going on. I've got Dave from the Coriolis Effect podcast.
Hello.
Dave, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to Mattias in a little bit. But Dave, thanks for coming on and doing this session with me.
Well, Doug, thanks for the invite. We're so delighted to be invited to come along and talk to you, and obviously talk to Mattias. It's brilliant, and I hope that those of your watchers who haven't necessarily heard of the Coriolis Effect yet,
they should.
Might be tempted enough to come along and have a listen. So we don't just talk about Coriolis, which is obviously a fabulous free league game, which was obviously originated from a Järningen idea back in the day, who used to own it. But that's a great game, fabulous game. But also we talk about Symbaroum, hence we're here. We also talk about lots of other different games. So the original
idea, Dave.
The original Coriolis, absolutely.
Look at that.
So, and if anyone's scratching their heads saying, "Oh, what's all this Coriolis Järningen story about?" If they go and listen to the Coriolis Effect podcast, they will hear the whole story.
I'm sensing a trend already in this session.
Well, I thought I'd get the plug in early.
Absolutely.
And then I can shut up, Dave. Absolutely delighted to be here, though. Really, really, really pleased. And thank you so much for the invite. And also for me personally, great opportunity to meet and talk to Mattias face to face, as it were, for the first time. Particularly seeing Mattias was instrumental in getting our interview with Järningen back in November last year, who then couldn't come along and be part of it. So he made it. He made the event happen, but then couldn't actually join in and have the fun that we all did. So thank you for that, Mattias, and delighted to meet you for real. Oh, as real as it gets.
For real, as real as it gets.
Yeah, those were some great podcasts that you had there when you had those interviews, and it was great to just listen to.
No,
now,
thank you.
The real reason why we're all here is to talk about Järningen's Kickstarter. Mattias, why don't you? I'll let you introduce yourself. I know that folks that have seen you on this show before, but we'll let you introduce yourself again.
Yeah, I'm Mattias Johnsson. As you already pointed out, I am one of the co-founders and co-creators of Symbaroum, the fantasy role-playing game. I mainly write stuff, primarily, setting adventures and that kind of aspects of the game. And then we have, then I have I should say the great joy of being the chief editor, which is, I get control, but I also get to do a lot of. Today I've been working on sending the Symbaroum Monster Codex to print the Swedish version first.
Nice.
Yeah, and but it's very nice. It's fantastically nice. But it also means that I've been sitting, searching for those places where we're doing page referrals in the game.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I looked up all the short dashes in the text and exchanged them for longer ones. All the fun stuff. Yeah,
all the hard legwork, isn't it, that you've got to go through?
Yeah.
I guess the bonus is, though, if there was a point of contention on a rule or a bit of setting that you couldn't agree with, you can just kind of quietly try and leave it out. No?
Yeah, of course.
Not that you'd admit that on here, obviously, because then Mattias and Martin.
Yeah, I would love to admit it. Yeah, I'm a tyrannical editor. Really and truly.
Best kind, I think.
Yeah. Well, we shouldn't stay on that topic. Anyway, today it's like Friday afternoon in Sweden.
Nice.
And the reason why I couldn't meet Dave and his partner in crime on the Coriolis Effect is the fact that unlike the other guys of Järningen, I live in Umeå, in the very north and very dark and very cold part of Sweden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Today, I don't know how it is for you, but I see mountains of snow outside my window still.
We had snow yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Well, yesterday we had the warmest April day in the UK since 1949.
All right, Dave. Oh, geez.
So like
Okay.
a bit sunburned still, I think, you know. So
Yeah. Actually, around the edges. Yeah. The hairline.
bits that are going,
Yeah.
not polite to point that out, you know. But, yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. And I'm gonna preface this by saying that I've told Dave that anytime he wants to interject and ask a question or
shut up, Doug.
That's right. He knows the phrase to just say. So just say "shut up, Doug," and Dave, feel free to take control of the channel whenever you'd like. Let's talk a little bit about the Kickstarter that's going on right now. It's going gangbusters. You have to be really, really excited about this, Mattias. You must be so incredibly excited.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's in the 2 years that Symbaroum's been available in English in stores. It's going on 2.5 years if you count the PDF release.
Right.
We have had the great joy of building a solid and strong and really enthusiastic community around the game. So the fact that we are for the first time using a pledge manager, meaning that we can have lots of add-ons and stuff.
Sure.
And that in turn means that we will have to do reprints, which in turn made us we had to raise the bar a bit, namely from 50,000 Swedish crowns to 100,000 just to get it started. But we hit that target in, I think it was like 32 minutes. And that's a testament to our community. I mean, then right now we are in it's in 52 minutes we hit the mark of 12 days. We have 11 days left of the campaign. And this is everyone who's run a Kickstarter know what I'm talking about. This is a really frustrating period of the Kickstarter.
it's like that lull, right?
Yeah. Oh man, it's going so slow. And also I don't know what we were thinking, or I do. I can get back to that in a minute. We started the Kickstarter the 9th of April. Meaning it was like for many people right in between salaries.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we will see the pace pick up during the last week as well.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure.
The reason why we did that is actually when we were talking about Coriolis recently, we were made aware of the fact that Free League was going to start a Kickstarter at about the same time.
I saw. That's right.
Yeah.
You guys.
Emissary lost. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, one of the first we had a full draft of that adventure back in the days, but we never released it, and I think they have reworked it. Anyway, we are very good friends with Free League, so I gave them a call, or maybe it was Thomas of Free League who gave me a call, and we started discussing, and they agreed to start theirs a bit earlier, and we postponed ours.
Nice.
And not only for our sake, because we share lots of the same players.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I kicked in for it yesterday, and I was something like the 710th backer.
Isn't that amazing? That's awesome.
I mean, that's great. I mean, I was just wondering, Mattias, what, in your wildest dreams, if you wanted to comment, how far would you go? How many backers would you like to get?
In this Kickstarter?
Yeah.
We have already passed the previous Throne of Thorns record.
Yes.
It was 687, I think.
Excellent. Yeah. Brilliant.
So, and we did that in less than 10 days.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's always, of course, I would like as many people as possible to contribute to the continued growth of the Symbaroum community.
Yeah.
So I won't sit here and say that I'm 100% happy, because I know we can do better. And the fact is also that during the last 6 or 7 months, we've seen a real boost in the interest and the sales from the US.
Yes. Yes.
And so much now is about, I think lots of people who have bought the game in a store or in a web store or whatever, maybe they haven't found us on Kickstarter yet.
No.
So a lot of the work now is about spreading the word, letting people know that we are on Kickstarter. And for instance, the Advanced Players Guide has been sold out for...
Yeah, it's been for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And in this Kickstarter, you will be able to add the Advanced Players Guide as an add-on, and you will hopefully probably get it before it reaches retailers, at least in America.
I think that's another thing I really like about this particular Kickstarter, is that for those people who are brand new to it, you are now opening the door to them with the add-ons.
Yes, absolutely.
To actually get all the content that they want in one go, which is great, because so often you'll get a book that's down the line in a game's history, but then you struggle to get the original books in the first place. So I think that's a great step. Really good idea.
On the other hand, it's the past few years, I think we talked about this the last time I was with you on Victory Condition Gaming, that building Symbaroum and building the community and building Järnringen as a company, it's such a learning experience that and I always say I have a 12-year-old son, and he you're supposed to educate your children about like what's important in life, right?
Sure.
And I always tell them that there's like one predominant thing aside from being trying to be a nice person, and that's learning stuff.
Yeah.
It's leveling up.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, learning stuff, that's what should motivate you each day. But to tell you the truth, right now I'm starting to the fact that I need to learn how to operate this pledge manager. I don't know if I have the energy, or I have to have the energy. But right now it feels like, oh no, just another thing to learn.
I wish I'd had that idea about telling my kids to level up, to learn, like do your exam, revise for your exams, and you'll level up. They're too old for it now, but yeah, it's a great idea.
I'm definitely using that with Sydney, by the way. Yeah. So I have this in my notes, but you have to be really pleased with the fact that this one has exceeded the previous Kickstarter, because a lot with this industry, especially with RPG books, when you put out a supplement or a campaign book, you don't see that type of growth a lot of times. Usually you see, and especially I know with the retail channels, with talking with other gaming companies, when they put out an expansion or a supplement, usually the print run is a lot less than the main product. Yeah. So to see the fact that you have growth as your Kickstarters are going along, that must be really, really worthwhile seeing for you.
absolutely. You know, we did when we were about to translate the core book. Kickstarter wasn't available in Swedish, or in Sweden, if I remember correctly. Anyway, we did that one on Indiegogo, and they were, I mean, Indiegogo is a great platform, but it doesn't have the same reach, especially when it comes to games.
Yeah.
So it is a bit difficult to say what would have happened if we had access to Kickstarter at that time, but I think we raised about a third of what we then raised with the first campaign module, which was Pistolhole Breath of the Warden on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't really know how to interpret the fact that we seem to do better and better when it comes. I mean, the only reasonable interpretation is that the core game is selling more and more, and more people are getting into the game, and the word is spreading, and so on. So, but I mean, look at Free League.
Yep.
They did, from what I know, their first true like expansion Kickstarter in Emissary Lost, because their previous Kickstarters have been like core games. Even if it's been Mutant Year Zero, you know, for mutated animals or whatever. It's been a complete game.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and they had a fantastic success with the Emissary Lost. So obviously it's possible. And also, I mean, we did this Monster Codex Kickstarter last fall. Which also is a supplement, and it went fantastically well. Partly because it also included Swedish backers. This Kickstarter, all the Throne of Thorns Kickstarters, they are for the translation into English only.
Gotcha.
The Monster Codex, we had our Swedish crowd with us. So, and that's maybe also one of the things that makes, you know, even if we've broken the total number of backers record with this one for a Throne of Thorns campaign, we are still a bit behind the Monster Codex.
Oh, okay.
The Swedes helped us. So
Nice.
We'll see how it goes. It would be so cool if we could break that record as well. The Monster Codex record.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely within reach. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this Kickstarter. Let's talk about. I want to make sure I pronounce it. It's Yndaros.
Yeah, in Swedish we say Yndaros.
Yndaros. Okay.
Yndaros. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it? What this book is going to entail? Is what it's going to add to the game? You want to talk a little bit about that? It's already in Swedish. You're just looking to crowdfund the English translation of it and publication.
Post-production and printing to afford a large print run. This part is the third episode in the Throne of Thorns, which is an adventure chronicle. I think D&D players would call it a campaign, maybe. Pathfinder players would call it an adventure path.
Yep.
The difference being that, as we've always done ever since we started producing these kinds of products in Swedish, like in 2002, we have always wanted to use the grand narrative of the chronicle to build on the world. So what you will find in this book is not only an epic adventure, which is a freestanding sequel to the adventures in Breath of the Warden and the Witchhammer, but you will also find lots of setting material, lore regarding the capital city of Yndaros, the Ambrian Kingdom. and also the countryside. And actually, the first section of the book is written for both players and GMs to read. So
Excellent.
if the players, and it's been this way in all the episodes of the Chronicles, that if the players, if you have players that are engaged enough to want to take that time, they can learn about the setting beforehand. You know, they can be more independent in problem-solving situations. You can also surprise them by revealing the fact that what they know about this town or this place or this individual isn't necessarily true. So we hope that this section will bring a lot to the gaming table, not only that it will flesh out the world, but also it will have a definite effect on the experience of playing the adventure later on. Sure. And then there's a I
like the idea that I think is it the first stretch goal was the booklet that containing that information specifically to allow your players to take it away, which I think is great, because I think the thing I found when I first picked up Symbaroum and my players first picked it up was it's obviously a totally new world. You don't know anything about it. You've got no previous sort of lore or culture to lean back on, which in one sense is a great thing because it's all new. In another sense might make it a bit harder for people to get in. And I think having that kind of booklet that you can give out is a really, I mean, not every player would want to sit down and read that booklet. They sometimes want to be spoon-fed it a bit, don't they? But having it there is a great idea. Really good.
Even if you have to spoon feed them, this section of the book will give you a sense of what to tell them and what not to tell them. Because in section 2 you have all the GM secrets, you have the truth about the history of the in this case Yndaros and its surroundings. You also have the development between the major factions in the world, and you also have a lot of new cool rule supplements. In Yndaros, for instance, we introduce. Actually, it was introduced it was hinted on in a previous adventure called The Bell Tolls for Castor. It's something called ceremonial magic, which are kind of collective, even more powerful mystical rituals that can literally, raise mountains or pull meteors from the sky or spread the plague over the land and raise hundreds of thousands of undead. Or maybe it's exaggerated there, but and they are obviously, they are really powerful, but they are also extremely hazardous to perform because they raise corruption en masse. You're really violating the fabric of creation when doing that. So that's a little bit. You have the players and GMs section, the like introduction to the setting. Then you have the GM section, which is full of plot hooks and GM secrets and the new rules and expansions. And then you have the epic adventure called The Darkest Star, which I really do not want to talk about since there may be players.
We don't have spoilers. That's for sure.
I can tell you this much. As the adventure starts, it is the city is preparing for the marriage or the union between Queen Corinthia's or half sister, Duchess Esmeralda, and the son of the High Chieftain, Tabor of Jedesa. So there are marriage or ceremonial preparations going on in town, and of course, dirt hits the fan.
Nice.
So inevitably, I mean, we've got a royal wedding here in a few weeks. So is there any kind of thought? I think it might not come out quite in time, but
she's a barbarian, right?
I wouldn't like to comment about Meghan Markle and her. Maybe Harry's the barbarian. Anyway, executed. Yeah.
This is Friday afternoon fun, guys.
Yeah.
So how long are you? You said how far along are you in the translation of this book? I think it's already. You've mentioned that it's already like it's all finished. Okay.
The first draft is finished. I haven't had a chance to, because next stage now is that I will go through it all a couple of times before we send it to proofreading, which usually is 2 or 3 people working through the material, just to find any. You know, we we tend to use the term Swinglish.
I like it. I like it.
English is what happens when Swedish people desperately try to do English text work, and you tend to misplace words and do the wrong phrasings and so on. So we like to do our best, at least, to work out any quirks. Then again, I mean, even in the Swedish texts, no matter how many proofreading phases you have, there will always be some strange stuff lingering on. But
there's quite a lot of stuff there that, if I may digress fractionally, that can go wrong quite badly. So my wife is Swedish, and for many years of our relationship, she would suggest we do something, you know, go for a walk or whatever, and I'd say could do. Now, to an English person, that means God no, it's the last thing I want to do. To the Swede, she took it literally and went, okay, great, let's do that then. So it took about 5 years.
That's awesome. That's the best right there.
It's easily done, I think.
Yeah, she sounds like a typical Swede.
Yeah. Very direct, very, you know. I got used to it now, I think. It's
oh, sorry.
That's great.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was just apologizing because I coughed, and I had the flu like 2 weeks ago, and
I did too.
Yeah, I can't shake it. It's like
it won't get out of my chest.
The system, no. Anyway, not the one this year.
Yeah, it's horrible. It just it knocked me out. I was in bed like for a whole day at one point. So how big is this book? How many pages are we talking about? If you know,
176.
Nice. Okay.
I believe so. It's the same length as Thistlehold, Breath of the Word.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Let's see here. If anybody has,
we also should add, since there actually is such a thing as varying sizes. It's US letter format. So it's not 176 pocket sized pages.
I will say that we've got some chat going on the YouTube channel. We'll if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them, and we'll work them into the session. Let's see here. Everybody's saying hi, hello. Let's see. Paul, I'm going to murder his last name. Baldowski says maybe the next stretch goal should be for a better webcam for Mattias.
I'm not going to comment on that one. Thanks, Paul.
I'm assuming Paul is someone that you know.
Baldowski, yeah, he's the guy behind the Iron Pact, you know.
Oh, okay.
The Iron Pact. Yeah, and he's actually writing for some of the stretch goals for the Monster Codex as well. Nice. So, hi, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, you're totally right. This webcam is a decade old. I think.
It's great when your friends come on and you razz you when you're broadcasting, because that happens to me all the time. It's funny to see it happen to someone else for a change.
And presumably after that comment, now Mattias, he's sacked. So
no more Paul.
Oh, that's great. So you've said that this is the next book in a series of books. Now, is Yndaros going to be playable if somebody only got, picked up this book, would it still make sense, or would they have to get the other books as well?
No, they are. We actually learned that lesson writing for our first major release here, only in Swedish. We did this monstrous campaign. It was only 3 books, but it's like I think they are going on 400 pages, some of them.
Wow.
So, and what we learned during that phase was that we shouldn't do like cliffhanger chronicles, leaving people hanging at the end of episode 2 for 1.5 years until we release the next one. So we've been very mindful not to design the adventures as you don't have to play them in sequence, and you don't have to play them at all. I mean, you can pick up the Yndaros 3rd part and play it as a standalone, no problem. You should, however, play some Symbaroum before.
Okay.
Unless you as a GM are interested in reworking the stats of the opposition, because it's not beginner level anymore.
Oh, okay.
But that's not a problem. That's what GMs have been doing forever, reworking stuff.
Nice. This campaign book, I know you've announced it on the Kickstarter, but it's won multiple awards for this campaign.
The Swedish.
That's great.
As a series in a whole. Yeah, I guess. I mean, Sweden is a small country with a population less than the city of London or New York, and so it's not that impressive in that sense.
No, it is, because I'm going to say you have Sweden's a hotbed for RPGs. I mean, you have a lot of really good RPGs coming from there, and so to win any kind of award, I know you're trying to downplay it, but I think it's very, very, that's noteworthy.
Impressive, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's and in this case, the Phoenix Awards, it's also the people's vote.
Nice.
Which makes it even more honorable, I would say. So, and I mean, between us and the Free League and Riot Minds, and you have Helmgast, who's doing Cult now, and you have Oskfågeln, who's doing Western.
Yeah.
There are a couple or a handful of companies that actually are starting to make a splash on the international scene as well. Yeah. So we are extremely, we absolutely didn't expect it this year that we would take home this many awards. I think it was 12 or 11.
Wow.
And most of them for this book that we are now translating into English, Yndaros, the Darkest Star.
Excellent.
Nice.
Actually, I just got a comment here. It says, Thomas Hume says, you just got your 716th backer. You're doing awesome work. So awesome, Thomas. Thank you so much. That's great.
Thanks for keeping us updated.
Yeah.
Because that's while running a Kickstarter, that's sort of what life is all about.
You're hitting that refresh button, right?
And it's as I said during this mid-term of the Kickstarter campaign, it's like it's so frustrating, and you tend to hit that refresh button even more often just because nothing is happening.
That's gonna be frustrating.
Yeah. So, but we are. Thank you, Thomas, for notifying us and for the congratulations. We are super happy about how this is going.
Krister says 800 plus backers is definitely within reach. I think so too. I think you'll have. I think you'll blow past 800 backers here in a few days. To be honest, if I think hopefully it just keeps building up steam.
Yeah, I actually think so too, but it's hard work also. I mean, always trying to find new ways to reach new gamers, and luckily, I mean, as I said early on, we are blessed with a community that is absolutely fantastic, and members who are helping us to spread word and reach out to both over social media and at gaming nights at our local gaming store and so on and so on. So yeah, I think 800 is probably not a problem.
I think you get that no problem. Eventually, I'd like to talk about the stretch goals, but I don't want to. I'd like to let Dave ask any questions if he has any additional questions.
No, I'm just keeping my powder dry to say shut up, Doug. That's all. But shut up, Doug.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I kind of really loved about the game is just how you can feel how much sort of love and energy has been poured into it. And I mean, moving slightly off the Kickstarter itself, but is there a lot of stuff? So I understand from Mattias and from Martin that, you know, killing your darlings is something you have to do. You get your lovely ideas, but they don't quite fit, so you got to kill them off. Now, are there a lot of darlings that have come back in this Kickstarter, or are there lots of darlings out there that will be waiting for another book further down the line?
I can tell you this much: when we have reached that point that we can. Today, me and Martin is working full time on this.
Nice, excellent.
Mattias does have another day job, but he does as much as he can. When we are at the point that we can use all our time to do the fun stuff, namely, you know, read, illustrate, and maybe have some other person do the business part of what we are having to deal with, then the line of Symbaroum products will rapidly grow. There are a lot of darlings that you know, that we're just waiting to sink our teeth into them and start working on them and fleshing the world out and offering new opportunities for play and that's one side of it. One answer to your question. Another answer to your question is that we tend to discover our worlds in games. So writing these books it doesn't feel like creating, or I should say that when it feels like creating, it feels wrong.
Right.
The ideal situation is when you feel that you are actually discovering a setting, a set of events, a set of characters, most importantly, a set of conflicts.
Yeah.
Within that setting that are a set that is interesting and that you want to sort of investigate. So and how that refers to your question is that we don't find ourselves killing darlings. It's more like noticing that, oh, I got that wrong.
Right.
It isn't like that. It must be like this.
Right.
So I'm discovering this world as I'm developing it and writing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I am wrong. You know, at first I think I see a set of events develop in the world of Symbaroum or the Kingdom of Ambria, but as I continue writing about it, I discover that I got it wrong. It wasn't like that. It was actually like this. So we're not killing darlings. It's just they are revealed to be
not the darling that you thought it was.
Yeah. More like that.
Yeah.
But oh, sorry, this was kind of maybe a bit clumsy or strange. But
no, it's good.
I don't know. That's how I would explain what's happening when we discover Yndaros.
Yeah, it's really interesting getting into hear a little bit about your sort of. It feels like creative angst, come with some of the struggles you have to go through to create this stuff and get it right. One other thing I wanted to mention, in the original, in the base Symbaroum book, it's quite rules light. There's lots of things that other games would put rules in which you haven't done, which I think is a great thing. The worst thing from the old D&D days is having to fight with the rule book to find the right rule when it actually doesn't make any difference anyway. Just make a call.
Absolutely.
But I have noticed that in some of the later books, the Wrath of the Warden, you have put out a few more rules that seem to be filling some of the gaps that some people might spot. About ranged weapon distances is an obvious example. So was that in response, do you think, to your player base saying, hang on, how far does this go? Or was that just something that you wanted to do anyway?
No, we have always strived to listen to the player base, not in the sense that we let anyone else dictate what we discover about the world. But when it comes to rules, I mean, Mattias Lilja, our main chief designer when it comes to the rule set, has in this case aimed for trying to find some kind of sweet spot in between, the rules heavy systems like Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. On the other hand, the rules light as Dungeon Worlds and Apocalypse Now.
Right.
I'm a little bit out on deep water here because I'm not a rules guy. Anyway, I think you get it.
You can always say it's a crap question.
Yeah. No, the thing is how people relate when you read reviews or just discussions on forums. People relate to the system of Symbaroum in three very distinct ways. Either there are rules lacking, and it is broken because of that. That's one way. Another way, it's rules heavy. Some people say it's too many rules. Yeah. Yeah. People coming from this more narrative rules side system. They some of them think that Symbaroum is a little bit on the heavy side, and then
showed them your D&D books and say, here you go.
That's what I'm thinking.
But I honestly, guys, when it comes to, and this is also a realization that we made during our early days only producing Swedish games, that you can create a setting that virtually everybody enjoys, but you cannot produce a rule set that everybody will enjoy.
Very true.
Very true.
I mean, so it's an unthankful task being the rules designer. And what we are trying to do with the Advanced Player's Guide and the expansions in the series of the Throne of Thorns is that, I mean, partly cater to what some people may want to add to the rule set, because what Mattias also did is that he created a system that is extremely easy to add on. With optional rules and additional rules, and just take a module and put it in there, and you have your ranged weapons, or you have your system for how much you can carry in terms of loot from the depths of Davgar, if you want it. So but also I think we are now getting closer and closer to the way we play. The first the basic rules that was meant to be, you know, on the light side when it came to rules, a quick system, a functional system, a fun system, a system which is designed specifically for you to be able to build exactly the character you want without minding, you know, careers and whatnot. There are like no walls or hindrances for you to when you build your character. But now we've grown up with the basic role playing and specifically the system that was converted into the Swedish game Drakar och Demoner, Dragons and Demons.
Okay. Yep.
We are actually used to have, and we had lots of discussions when Mattias designed the rule set for Symbaroum, where I was like, about ranged weapons, for instance. I mean, I grew up knowing how far I can shoot that bow and knowing what kind of negative modification I have if it's too far.
Sure.
Symbaroum said nothing about it.
No.
Now it does in the Advanced Player's Guide.
I mean, as a referee of Symbaroum, having run a couple of scenarios now, I mean, when I first looked for the range, it's like, oh, there's no ranged, no ranged rules here. But then you just say, oh well, yeah, you can hit him or you can't hit him.
It's line of sight. It's line of sight. Yeah.
And so I think my initial thought was, okay, there's no rules there. There was a slight jarring moment, but it didn't actually matter. Almost now that you've subsequently put those rules in, I'm slightly disappointed that you've done that.
but don't use it. It's optional.
No,
it's just optional.
Yeah.
Not so much in the rules, but so much just in the, you know.
Another thing that we added was hit locations.
Yep.
Okay.
Which I love. I mean, I want to be able to aim for the head or the arm or the leg or the section where that guy doesn't have an armor, because I'm the ranger.
Yeah.
So that is also one thing we decided to add, which brings, I mean, every such module that you accept and introduce to your gaming table will add complexity and will add extra time. I mean, in the basic rules, with the basic rules, you can probably run a quite large confrontations between the PCs and a group of NPCs in like 30 minutes. But as you start to add more and more stuff, of course, you add complexity and it will take a lot longer. And some people like that, some people really don't. They want, I mean, if you want to focus on the story, which I still think is our strongest suit.
Yeah, I think so.
The setting and the story and you know, the experience of adventuring in Davgar.
I think it does a great job of you know, you can kind of play Symbaroum to whatever your players like. So if you want to go a little bit heavier on the rules, you can add all these rules into it, and if you don't, then you can just kind of just go with, you know, with what's in the core rule book, and kind of play to what your players feel they like to play. That's really good to have.
Yeah, I should say that you're looking at the first edition of this system.
Right.
We're still looking at the first edition. So obviously, I mean, we're not strangers to the thought of revising some of the stuff and adjusting a little bit here and there if we ever come to the conclusion that it's time to make a second edition. But on the other hand, I must say I'm really proud of and happy that Mattias Ilya at least almost nail it on the first time. I mean, for being a first edition, it's really surprisingly functional.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's the point you made a minute ago, Mattias, that no rule system is going to please everybody.
Exactly.
And for me, in particular, the idea that you should, the game is so damn dangerous. Actually, you get yourself into trouble if you're a bit blasé with your sword. You're going to get your head hacked off. And two, the idea that you need to be a bit more tactical about it. A lot of games you just, I'll shoot or I'll attack, and you win, or this one. I mean, somebody even suggested to me, play dead as a way of escaping being killed in a battle. Pretend you've been killed. Don't tend to do that very often, but it encourages that kind of thinking. So you're absolutely right. I think Mattias Lilja has got it pretty well right first time round.
Absolutely.
With plenty of opportunities to hack it if you want to.
Yeah, and GMs and the gaming groups will always do that. We've always done it. So what matters, all we can do is try to provide the tools to make playing Symbaroum fun for as many people as possible. This means that some people will like the fact that we offer an optional rule for ranged weapons. Some people will sneer at it and choose
I wasn't sneering.
I wasn't referring to you. I said something.
And he wasn't naming names.
I think one of the other things that Symbaroum as a game has got, that marks it out from other fantasy games, is that look and feel and that atmosphere. Not only in Martin's absolutely world-class artwork, but also just the whole creative element behind the world and all the story opportunities they've got in that background and in that history, and that makes it really stand out from lots of other games actually, which is one of its real powerful strengths. My congratulations for doing such a great job. When I first heard of Symbaroum, I think I saw a picture online, and I thought that picture looks good. That's
how I got hooked.
And I went out and found the game, and then I was convinced to buy the game, and here we are, a year later, online talking about the game. It's remarkable how well they've done that as a company. I think it's brilliant.
Absolutely. They say don't judge a book by its cover. But
on this occasion,
we all do it, and I tell you, Symbaroum is just beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful book.
I don't know what to say except thanks. No, and we've the three of us now at the core team of Symbaroum or Järningen. We've known each other for over 30 years, played games together, made games together. So I guess that kind of shines through. It's not only because I hate to say this, but Martin, no, I don't hate to say it. I say it all the time. Martin is our, rock star. He's that lead guitarist playing with his back against the crowd, doing this awesome solos. But what's really gladdening is that when people actually pick up the books after having seen his awesome or heard his awesome solos, they tend to find that the text actually lives up to the artwork artwork. But the thing is, often because we're such a tight team, Martin is heavily involved in the writing and the creative process as well. So I mean, he's not that artist that gets like a 2-liner that says draw this, and he does it. But instead, I write 2 or 3 lines about some scene that I want him to illustrate, and something totally different comes back.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I end up rewriting the text because his vision is so much cooler. In some
that's
cases.
great.
In other cases, I have to return to him and say, you know, we already said in this and this book that this and this has happened, so you cannot portray this person like this. So that's another scenario.
Let's if you don't mind, let's talk I'll add the YouTube comments in here at the moment while we have a little bit of a second. Let's see. Lord Zara says, having read the Swedish release of the book, it's definitely the part of the campaign I'm most excited to run. So that's cool. a very good endorsement for Yndaros. Krister says, I agree. It's the best part so far. Let's see here. Paul says, okay, here's another Paul comment. brace yourself. It says, will we ever what's that? It says, will we ever see any output for Symbaroum not tied to Kickstarters in the future, like smaller releases through like RPG Now or Drive Through RPG? That's a good question. Let's put you on the spot.
You stunned him.
Yeah, I was thinking, haven't we done that? But maybe it's been because we do in Swedish. But I guess when we run the Kickstarters for the English translations, we tend to like sum up and collect all the stuff we've done in Swedish, and then work it into the campaign to be able to translate it and so on. So, but in response to that question, of course, it's all about, as I said before, that glorious day when me and Martin and Mattias have all the time, can take the time to focus on the creative stuff. We will probably have a situation, because, you know, when I say creative stuff, I don't mean that we have to write and illustrate every single Symbaroum product that comes out, but we need to be there as editors or as art directors.
There's a whole other. So,
I mean, freelancers is a fantastic asset, but you have to have the time to be there to guide them and to work with them and so on. So I'm hoping, Paul, that, and all you others, that we will see a tighter release schedule of Symbaroum products in the future.
Have you given any thought to the idea of an open game license in the similar vein that Free League are planning to do with Forbidden Lands?
Oh.
Yeah, we've absolutely talked about it, but honestly, I'm not the guy to delve into that subject, because I really don't have all the facts on the table about what it would mean. I'm thinking at the moment, because also I'm kind of possessive.
Sure. No, you know what? I can totally understand that, because it's something that you created. You want to.
Yeah, you've earned that right, haven't you? Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, we love to see other people work on the Symbaroum material, and if we can find a way to also let them do that and have a kind of monetary kickback, that would be swell. So it's not off the table, I can tell you that. But what's maybe closer at hand is like converting Symbaroum for other rule sets. Maybe we have. I'm pretty sure the Krister you mentioned is my dear friend Krister Persson, who's actually he's
great. He's been on the he's been on my chats a few times. He's great to I appreciate him being such a great supporter of
and he's working on a conversion of Symbaroum to the Faith system.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
So that's really interesting. I haven't had time to look at it yet, but I hopefully will if I get some free time this summer. I will definitely look at it because it's interesting. As I said, I mean, we take great pride in our world building and our stories and so on, and also in our rule systems. But we are very aware of the fact that the rule aspect of the game is much more subject to taste and style. Preferences than the rest of the package. So if we can find other if we can find ways to introduce other gamers to Symbaroum, it would be really cool.
That would be very cool. Thomas asks, how many parts are there going to be in the Throne of Thorns cycle? Looks like Paul answered 7.
Yeah, and he's correct in the sense that that's the projected number.
Okay.
I can tell you right now that it's more and more starting to look like 6 parts.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because actually, the fact is that we will one of the bonus stretch goals, the one that's been unlocked when we surpassed our former Throne of Thorns back record, is an updated version of the campaign overview. I think it's called, if you search for Symbaroum, the Throne of Thorns.
Yeah.
And while revising that, we will also take a long, hard thinker about if it will be 6 or 7 parts in the campaign. What I do know is that the next part 4, will be like, is there such a word in English as peripety? The turning point of the
okay.
whole stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind
of like if you were to compare it to like a Star Wars universe, it'd be like the Empire Strikes Back portion of the campaign where it's like just amped up and you're getting to that like crescendo point of the campaign.
But
not that I want
the big section, the first crescendo. Where it is revealed that things maybe aren't quite as clear cut and evident as you believe them to be.
Nice.
I'm so longing to start writing it.
Well, so let's hope that the plot for that isn't the same as the plot for Empire Strikes Back now.
Yes.
You've just blown it if it is. Mattias is going, shut up.
I'm sorry. That's the only thing that came to my mind at the time. I was just, anyway.
I need to buy a new webcam, by the way.
Let's see. Paul says, is there any fear that the complexity and length of the core campaign will scare away new players?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
And there is. Or I would like to put it maybe like this, that we continue to produce the kinds of products that we ourselves would love to read and play. And we are fully aware that this means that some gamers may think that it's, I don't know, too much to read, too much to get into. But I mean, we have to do what we believe in and what we love.
Do you think then, Mattias, that you might not get any sense, but do you feel that the community is after more adventure material or after more setting material, or do you think it's just impossible to tell really what? Because I mean, from my point of view, I bought the Warden of the Wrath of the Warden, in order not for the campaign part of it, but for the background context of Thistlehold, because I was thinking of running my game there. So do you get any sense of that, whether people are actually after the context, or actually after the adventures themselves?
I get a pretty good sense, and it's telling me that it's about 50-50.
Yeah, I think so too.
So you please everybody with the books.
No, I mean, and that's also it's very interesting that Christer and whoever it was said that part 3 is the best book in the series or the best adventure. I happen to agree.
Nice.
But again, that's a question of taste.
Sure.
This monstrous campaign that we did for Mutant back in the day was 9 episodes. 3 books with 3 episodes in each, and we have always strived to make sure that we don't follow the same formula or the same design in all of these episodes. And obviously, when there was someone who started a pull about which is the best part of the Heirs of Doom campaign, it was like the 2 most extreme. One, a very open adventure landscape that earned 2nd place, and 1st place was an adventure which I wrote, which was like insanely railroaded. It was more like a movie script. So those 2 were, I think, together about 60% of the votes, and that says something. I mean, people. Some love the adventure landscape. Some have players who love to take initiative. Others are more comfortable with running those more railroaded, more movie-like stories. And actually, Yndaros is a bit more railroaded than the previous parts.
Okay.
And again, episode 4 will be very open in its character. So that's also partly trying to cater to different tastes. What I should say that we are always very mindful of new beginner GMs and trying to help them. So even if we do this adventure landscape, we try to provide a chain of events. Like if the players or the character if they have a quest giver, he or she could try to order them around in this fashion, and then you get, even in a very open landscape, you get a kind of a railroaded story that is pre-prepared for you. Anyway, I forgot the first question, but it's all about trying to provide the tools for the game master and the gaming group to have fun. We can never control what happens at the gaming time. We don't want to control. If we wanted to control it, we wouldn't write role-playing games. We would write computer games.
Right, exactly.
Or movies or books. So all we can do is like try our best to find a way to enable fun. I guess.
Yeah, no, those are great goals to have.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Krister says, one thing I love about the adventures, and especially the Throne of Thorns, is that they feel like they're growing organically, which Mattias touches upon. Lord Zera says, I think Symbaroum's system actually mirrors its art, light on details, but heavy, impressionistic, and evocative rather than descriptive. I think that's excellent.
I agree with that
one right there.
That's cool that you say that, because it dawned on me when I was working on the Monster Codex that it's very much show don't tell, and kind of less is more. There are very few clear-cut, adjective heavy descriptions of Davokar or Yndaros or what it smells, what it feels like, what it looks like. But because, and I think this is partly because we've been doing this for a while, it's often more effective to have people build their own. I mean, you have Martin's images as inspiration, but then so much happens up here when you play that too much of detailed descriptions can actually ruin the experience. I mean, what you see in your head when you walk the streets of Yndaros is probably cooler to you than what I can write about that place. If you understand what I mean. So yeah, that was an interesting comment, and kind of a maybe it's onto something.
Paul's back again. We've got a couple more questions, and actually, I like these questions from Paul. I'm gonna. Paul says, "Is there a possibility that we might ever see a setting book for playing characters in the past, at the height of the Symbaroum Empire, or at the birth of the Iron Pact?" Have you ever considered that?
Oh man!
How much work do you want to take on? That's the question.
Yeah, speaking about darlings,
that's one right there, huh?
Yeah. Of course, that's a very, very good idea, Paul.
It is. Yeah. It's as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, I got to get this one right on this chat.
Yeah, I mean, we will obviously keep building the world of Symbaroum geographically in the current timeline.
Yep.
If it will happen before we reach the end of the Throne of Thorns or before, I don't know, but we will start exploring other, locations on the continent that where we find Ambria and Dabuka. But there is nothing stopping us from exploring a temporal jump to, what once was, or what will come. I mean, the really early days when people came wandering over the ravens from the east and entered the plains surrounding Karvosti, before the rise of the Symbaroum Empire. That's also quite a cool era to explore. When the world was virgin, when magic was pure, allegedly, when the taint of corruption wasn't, where Vratha hadn't been stirred to interaction. that would be really cool. Absolutely. So we have, I mean, it sometimes it seems like a quite limited geographical setting to work with, the world of Symbaroum, but man, go deep instead. Go deep, go contrast, go on nuances, and there is plenty to do in that setting. Yeah.
Now here's another one for you, because this is from Paul again. Have you ever considered creating a war game based around the battles of the Great War?
Oh yeah, and we've had suggestions. We had discussions.
Because I will tell you that I think you've got a great IP that is just built for all sorts of other properties, not just an RPG. And that's just me personally. I think Paul nails it on the head. That I'd love to see more Symbaroum like in just on my table.
Yeah, but we are hoping to see Järnringen and Symbaroum snowball, grow both in terms of number of players, but also in terms of different kinds of products, and that's been our goal ever since the start. But I mean, one of the main reasons for creating an original brand instead of, say, I don't know if the Blixt-Gordner license is free, but there are all these licenses out there that you probably can do cool role-playing games on.
Sure.
and that would maybe be a quicker way to reach a lot of people. But working and trying to develop an original brand, the main idea is to branch off. And the fact that role-playing games are a perfect way for building a brand, for creating content. It's so content heavy compared to lots of other kinds of products. So.
Yeah, no, I've thought this for even back before when I had it on the first time. I forget to ask that question, but it's a great. You've got a great IP, and I think a lot of people would love to see more. In different products.
Actually, it all started with Coriolis that we now don't have because for various reasons, which you can hear on the Coriolis Effect podcast. We weren't able to. No, we weren't able to.
Excuse me.
No, we didn't have the energy to keep building that setting at that time. But the idea was the same. After the experience of working with Mutant, which is the same brand that Mutant Year Zero, obviously, we did like the version of that game before Year Zero, and we put out like up to maybe 30 books over a period of 6-7 years. And it dawned on us somewhere in that process that this all that we are doing, illustrating, writing, it's not ours.
Yeah,
it's someone else's.
It is.
And it was kind of, man, why are we doing this? Why not try to do something that is ours and that we can develop over time as we see fit.
Sure. No, I think you're doing a smashing job. It's just it's great to see. Like I said, even at the beginning of this, it's great to see it just keep the momentum keep building for Symbaroum.
Yeah.
Let's before we're way over the hour, which is usually what I try to keep. I try to keep these sessions an hour, but it never happens. It hardly ever happens, which is fine. This is so much fun. I love talking with you guys, and we're gonna have to do this again when you do the next session.
Absolutely.
But let's talk a little bit about the stretch goals on this campaign, because you've unlocked quite a few. So let's get back to the Kickstarter a little bit. We've got the hardcover, which is always something that I know as an RPG book hoarder that I am.
Yeah, me too.
I love having hardcover books more than soft cover. So that was great. You've got some ribbon markers. You've got some prints. You got a couple adventure maps that are already unlocked. I don't have any doubt that the stretch goals that you have announced already will be unlocked at some point.
No, I really hope, not only for our sake, because we really want to produce this material for you gamers. Yeah. No doubt about it. We are really excited. In this case, we have opted heavily on offering stretch goals that will add to the main product.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep. So you have a couple of A3 GM maps for spreading out on the table, and you have, as you said earlier, the City of Contrasts, which is the first section, which is supposed to be read by the players.
Right.
And we also have these city adventures or city settings that will, give you 3 scenarios to develop in the city of Yndaros. Hopefully you will get those in print as well.
Yeah, that's a goal that's later on down the road.
If you obviously if you back for printed products.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it feels really nice, and we have. I will not go into it because I don't know if in what order we will introduce them, but we have a number of additional stretch goals waiting behind the stage as well. Excellent. That I really hope that we get to introduce.
Well, one thing that I will give you that I'll give you congratulations for is that, or a really high recommendation for, is that your pledges, you add a lot of value as more money comes in. Yeah. You add more and more to the pledges, which is really, really great to see. And I think if anybody is hesitant on backing now instead of backing it once it's in their friendly local gaming stores or online, if you back now, you're gonna get a lot of content with your pledge that you might not get when you get it when it's not on the show.
And it's that is Dave, please.
Your money's going to go a long way, and
exactly.
If you want to pick up a load of stuff, you'll get it as early as you can.
Exactly.
You haven't got, who knows when the next print run will make it into the local store.
Exactly.
No, but there's a. I mean, I can also understand those gamers now finding Symbaroum, and they they want the complete collection, and they find out that earlier Kickstarters have had some exclusive stuff in them, and I fully understand that this may be a little bit vexing and disappointing. But on the other hand, I mean, these Kickstarters, we wouldn't be where we are, nowhere near where we are today without these Kickstarter campaigns, and we really need to demonstrate how grateful we are for the support that our backers are giving us. So to us, it's our way to show the love for the community. All the material that are exclusive in the campaigns are possible to get in digital versions. So I mean, it's not like we are holding stuff back, but the prints are in most cases, or in some cases, Kickstarter exclusive or Kickstarter or limited, meaning that we will do one print, and the print run is based on the number of backers and pre-orders, and also from stores. So, but we will not reprint it.
No, I mean, I'm coming at it from the same point of view as Doug, really, because I love the hard copy books. And PDFs are fine, but it's not the same running off a PDF. But I think also the thing with, you talk about thanking the gamers who are supporting your Kickstarters, but I think that the fact that you get a lot of support is also down to how well that you've run Kickstarters in the past.
Absolutely, that speaks volumes.
Kickstarters are a slightly a risk is the wrong word, but you're investing now to receive something later on, and not every Kickstarter company is anywhere near as good or reliable as you guys are at keeping up your end of the bargain. So,
you ever heard of Adventure Pack 3? We're like 6 months behind on that one, so that's a shameful. On the other hand, we will send it out separately at our own expense. So we try to make up for any mistakes or no.
But I think also the point we made earlier I think the point you made earlier about the RPG playing community aren't full of a bunch of jerks. Most people in the community are really good people. Yeah. Certainly in my views, when I kickstart something, it'll have a date for delivery, but that's an estimate. If it arrives then, great. If it's a couple of months later, so be it. I'll get it when it comes through the door, kind of thing. As long as it arrives, that's fine.
Well,
maybe not everyone thinks the same.
No, we cannot afford to think like that, because
that's fair enough.
Also, it's actually where we put the estimated delivery date is always a discussion.
Sure.
And you want to find that sweet spot where you can you can make it in time for the backers to, you know, have it on the set date.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it should also help to, you know, put a little bit of pressure on the team.
Sure, so they don't get complacent. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could say, oh, this will arrive in 2 years. And it will. We will make it in time. But on the other hand, we will probably not do much work.
And you might not get so many backers if they've got to wait.
Exactly. People are patient, but they're not that patient. But I will say, when we're going back to the how well you run your Kickstarters, is that you do a good job of keeping the communication open. Like if you're behind on something, or you know, if you let folks know even after the campaign is over that, hey, you know, this might not hit, you know, the deadline that we have, but we're ahead on this, or this, we've got this chapter already done. You know, so folks aren't just left out there stranded on their Kickstarters. You know, you do a great job of keeping folks updated.
There's this expression about managing expectations.
Right.
And that's part of it, but I think maybe that's the wrong label for what it is. It's more about inviting people behind the scenes as much as possible to share our, you know, if something goes wrong, we are just as frustrated as you guys are.
Sure.
It's about taking the community along with you, isn't it? It's about being good communication, and most people are reasonable, and if you're open about it, then people say, okay, I get it. You know, we accept that there's a our biggest defeat so far was when we had to realize that we wasn't in a position where we could make the custom die set that we wanted to make. Because no matter how many we have a system with, you know, is it 6 different die? From D4 to D. So each set is extremely expensive to produce, especially if you want it, you know, just that kind of perfect that you're looking for.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we did the math, and we tried to get our Italian friends, translators, and French and German to pinch in so we could do an order together.
Right.
Still, we were in a situation where we would lose, you know, we would lose money for every set sold. And we had to admit defeat. It was like, okay, we have to revisit this later because we cannot do this. And then what we tried to do then, that's where this Adventure Pack 3, which will be I think 100 pages plus hardcover, you get that one instead.
Nice.
And some people were a bit disappointed, but most people were, any day.
Sure.
I'd rather have the adventure. So
hey, I'd rather have an adventure than dice. I've got dice. You know, it's like, you know.
Still, it would be cool.
It would be cool. It would be cool. I'm not discrediting the dice idea, but you know, if I were to make the choice between the two, dice on one hand, or you know, 100-page adventure on the other, it's gonna be the 100-page content more than
and you know what? I think that means that you are right in the you are precisely the kind of gamer that should be a Symbaroum gamer.
Yes.
Choosing adventures before dice. I think
depends
that
it depends how cool the dice are, doesn't it? That's the thing. They're really cool dice. You never know.
No, this is great. One thing I will ask you though, that I know some of the stores around here have been asking me, is have you ever thought of doing a retailer pledge? Or does that bypass any of the agreements that you have with your publishers and with your distributors?
As I understand it, we have looked into it, a little bit, and it has to do with being able to offer, you know, deals for like brick and mortar deals where you people get, and we are not signed up for that. Modifius are, so maybe if we went through them, it could be arranged somehow. But yeah,
I think a lot of the stores in this area would probably carry more Symbaroum if they had access to the Kickstarter, because then that way you know the folks could come to the store and pledge through the store, and they would win, you would win, everybody would win a little bit more. I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have brought this up on the chat, because now I'm putting you on the spot. But I'm just
the thing is, it hinges on. I'm not objecting to the idea; it's a great one, but it hinges on us being able to discern whether or not this backer actually is a store. Right. Because it has to do with tax and that kind of questions.
You have to make sure that they're a physical location and all that.
Yeah, or at least
totally understand that.
Yeah.
So it's not complicated. So, but yeah.
Excellent. That's pretty much all of my talking points that I had, Dave, that I sent over to you ahead of time, I think.
Yeah,
we talked about pretty much everything that I had planned. Is there any other questions that you had before, or talking points that you wanted to bring up before we probably close this session out?
No, we've covered everything I think I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could talk about the game for hours and hours and hours, but
absolutely, I could. Absolutely. Do you have? I guess my last question would be: do you have any timeline or projected timeline for the rest of 2018? When are we going to see Symbaroum again and Järningen again in 2000? Are we going to see you guys again in 2018? At least on as far as making another English translation of a product. Do you have another goal set, or are you just pretty much just looking at Yndaros at this point? And
no, I really understand your point, and it's a valid one, because we are in a situation where today we cannot plan like 3 years ahead.
Right.
We don't have the. Because we don't know where we'll be at in 3 years.
Yeah.
However, we can plan about 1 year ahead.
Okay.
And as you know, we will release the Symbaroum Monster Codex this summer.
Excellent.
Hopefully in stores by August or at the end of August.
Okay.
We will release Yndaros, of course, Darkest Star, maybe in stores in November.
Nice, right in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
The holidays. Yeah. That's great planning.
Yeah, exactly our thought. That was what we were planning. Yeah.
No, I mean, as a former retailer, I'm thinking, oh wow, that's brilliant. That's a great time to get your products into the stores.
But then Adventure Pack 3 will, which also will be hardcover. It will be two cool, I think, adventures that deal with a lot with the conflicts within the Sun Church of Umbria, the Church of Prios. And what more, we will have a monster card deck with all the monster traits coming out in summer as well. Like that. So yeah, and I can tell you this much: we will appear again on Kickstarter before the end of the year. I don't know exactly when, and I will not say one word about what kind of
that is totally fine, as long as the three of us can do this all over again, because I had a blast doing this today.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
it was so much fun. You said you're going to be at you're thinking about being at Essen. Let's tell folks where they might see you throughout the year this year.
First and foremost, we will go to UK Games Expo for the first time in Birmingham at
in
the
June.
Start of June.
June this year, yeah.
Dave,
you said that you were hoping to maybe be at that as well.
Yeah, I sincerely hope to, if I can just clear up some domestic clashes with my diary. But yeah, definitely very much like to be there.
Nice.
Gen Con was a definite yes until we noticed the fact that it was earlier in August this year, meaning that it is actually on the same date as my wedding party, and my soon-to-be wife didn't think it was a good idea for me to miss the party. So, but it's not totally. I mean, there might be Järningen representation still. It's just not totally decided yet. Any event, Modifius will be there.
That was the point that I was going to make. Yep.
With Symbaroum books and hopefully with the Monster Codex. I really hope.
Nice.
Then later this year, we don't have a traveling schedule mapped out, but as you said, Essen would be fantastic. I mean, we've been at conventions in Italy and France and UK and America. So Spain and Germany would be our next stops.
Nice. Excellent. Cool. Excellent. And where can folks find you online if they want to learn more about Symbaroum and Järningen?
Currently, I would suggest the Kickstarter page because
we're like absolutely the link to the Kickstarter is in the description. Click on that.
That was a bit of an open goal, that one, wasn't it?
I was just kind of lobbing that one up for you.
Volleyball smash.
Right.
No, otherwise, most activity today is on Facebook and Google Plus and Reddit. And you can find the links to those places also on the Kickstarter page. So that's our own homepage. It's on my third to-do list. I have it's on the to-do list. Then I have the must-do list, and then I have must-do-now list. Very seldom that I get to the second one.
I will say that there is an English Symbaroum Facebook group or Facebook page that is fairly active as well. So
and a German and an Italian and Spanish is, I think, starting up. They just recently translated.
Nice. So. and Dave, where can folks find you? I don't know if you've mentioned where anything about anything that you create on this session at all yet. Where can folks find you?
Well, the Coriolis Effect podcast is obviously on iTunes.
The Coriolis Effect
podcatcher, I think it's called. But we're now on that as well.
Nice. You guys are doing some great content. I'm going to tell folks, even if you're just slightly interested in Symbaroum and the Freely games, check out the Coriolis Effect.
So we do. I mean, we are called the Coriolis Effect. That was where we came from. But we do talk about lots of other stuff as well. And our actual plays. In fact, we've done more actual plays for Symbaroum, and have got more to come out than we've done for Coriolis. So we aren't just Coriolis. We're Symbaroum. We're Tales from the Loop. We're Star Trek a little bit. So come and have a listen. And there is going to be more Symbaroum APs coming out as well in the near future.
Very good. Very good.
Brilliant.
Well,
yeah.
I want to again thank you both for being a part of this session.
It's been a fantastically nice Friday afternoon, I must say.
It's just been great, and we're 40 minutes over our allotted hour, which is more. I hope I didn't keep you guys from anything you had going on this today.
I think my wife, being Swedish, is desperate to go down the pub before dinner. So,
well, I want to thank you both for coming on. We'll have to do this again.
We will. Thank you for the invite, Doug.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. Go back, Yndaros. Go listen to the Coriolis Effect. Just consume as much content as you can from
consume.
That's right.
co-create stuff.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. My name is Doug. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like down below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate anybody that does. And remember, winning shouldn't be the only victory condition when you get to the table. We'll see you next time.